Hey everybody, I'm That One Guy, and I wanted to create a series of videos to go over the Weakauras I've created. The whole purpose of the Weakauras is obviously to help you better understand your spec and hopefully help you play better as a result, but also to gamify the game. Because WoW does present you with some spell alerts for the specs you play, but not all. And so that leaves you looking for ways to identify if a certain buff or debuff is active. And that's where Weakauras can come in play. And I wanted to do more than just have an icon with a timer in it, right? I wanted to try to present you with visual effects that make it feel more like a video game and immerse you more into the spec you're playing. At least that's the idea. So in these videos, I'm going to go over the Weakauras I've created, how I intend for them to work, and show you how you can modify them if you'd like. So whether you've already found my Weakauras, or you're looking for some for a certain spec, or you just want to have a better idea of how Weakauras work in general, hopefully these videos will help you with that. Fury Warrior. So warriors in general are a lot of button mashing fun, and Fury Warrior maybe more so. And I think Weakauras and spell alerts are really great for Fury Warrior because it's one of the, if not the only spec where its spell alert isn't a cooldown reset or a buff that you have. It's literally just like, hey, you have enough of a resource to push a button now, right? Which is kind of what all of these Weakauras are intended for, is just giving you information to know you can push a button. As always, with all of my Weakauras, they're only as good as the people who play them and then give me feedback. So as you're playing it and going along, if you notice something is annoying or needs to be resized or moved, or you have a suggestion, leave it in the comments below, because I want to make these as good and fun for the people who play them all the live long day, because that's the whole point. I don't get to play all these specs in all types of content. I get to play them a little bit, but I don't have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to just play the specs yet. Maybe one day. But let's just take a look at the Weakauras we have for Fury. So, our Fury Warrior, right? If you had, again, like everything, absolutely everything on your screen, it would look like that. Compared to most other specs, that's pretty nice and tidy, considering these are going to be in a shared space unless you have talented into both of them, but we will look at that. But I mean, like, as far as Weakauras go, Fury has one of the simpler presentations of things while still providing you with all the same information, in my completely biased opinion. So let's make it all go away and go through it one by one. Your Recklessness and Avatar CDs just pop up as little buttons down here. When there's 10 seconds or less left on them, they'll show up desaturated like this and start counting down, and then obviously they'll just be sitting there when they're off CD. So yes, it is still little buttons and icons you have to look at, but it would allow you to move things like this off of your screen and just be able to identify what you've got going on right here. Your Raging Blow charges, pretty straightforward and simple. 2, 1, or none. You either have it or you don't. I don't have anything to show you like the cooldown aspect of it to anticipate it, just because it can also get reset. So it's really just read and react with Fury, as I think is applicable for a Raging Fury Warrior. Bloodthirst. It has some conditions to make the icon change, and I'm just going to have to show it in combat. But basically, when it's off cooldown, it'll look like this. And when the conditions for the crit chance are met, really the color's inverse, and the circle around changes its texture a little bit. So you'd see it in combat, and a sound is made too. So when the special Bloodthirster conditions are met to where you'd want to cast Bloodthirst over other things, it'll make a little sound and the texture will change. So just visual audio cues letting you know. Execute, same deal. With the sudden death and execute conditions are met, this will pop up on your screen telling you to push execute, right? So like, and I did add some color variations to it. If it's red, that means your marked for execution is stacked up to 3. That's the Slayer condition. If it's brown, that means the Ashen Juggernaut's expiring. And then if it looks like this, that usually just means sudden death is about to expire, and it just wanted you to use the button. If you don't like the audio cues that both have, you can go up here, right, to just the Fury, the whole group of them, and you can right-click the little speaker icon and remove all sounds. And so as you're playing, if you're like, I don't like any of those sounds, you can remove them. If you want to change them, like you don't like what the sound is and you want something different, you click on the pack itself, the little group itself, and I have it set in conditions, and you can see the sound right there. It's supposed to be a sword ring for this one, and for Bloodthirst, I believe. Yeah, it's details warning, but it's a little thud sound. But this is where you would change the sounds for stuff. And the reason there's so many conditions is because there's if you open them, you'll see that it's trying to match your crit percentage. But that's where you could change the sound, or you could just outright remove it by right-clicking the speaker and remove all sounds and settings. And as is true with anything, if you don't like the color of stuff, you can click on the group, go to the display tab, and change its color. For some of these things, you'll probably have to maybe go to the individual icons itself because they may have different colors, and change their color in the display tab. If you don't like anything, you can right-click and delete children in group, or go to the load tab and check the never box. And if you want to move stuff, usually going to the group position and size settings and changing its X and Y offset will do the trick. I try to have everything positioned by its group settings rather than its individual icon settings. So, moving on, Rampage, right? This is your base spell alert that you get as Fury, letting you know you can press Rampage. I have it conditionally set to be read like that when it's like over 90 rage or over 100 rage, whatever it says in the guide, right? And then if you don't have, if you aren't enraged, obviously it'll be red as well. If it pops up as white, that means you have enough rage to spend it, but not over the suggested amount, right, where it says to absolutely spend it. And, you know, maybe you already are enraged. So it will only turn red when those two conditions are met. So it'd be kind of the situation of if you have nothing else to push, but you have a white Rampage on your screen, that's why it's white. You can still use it. It just means those specific criteria that it listed out on the guide are not currently met. And you'll see it maybe as we go along. Whirlwind, just your whirlwind charges, letting you know you have your four stacks of whirlwind and then when it's going to expire. Bladestorm and or Ravager, they're going to be in the same spot because it's a choice node and the same texture. How this is set up is that it will be a white or a lighter color if it's off cooldown, but you're not enraged. Because in a guide, a lot of these things say use it while enraged. So it's like, all right, well, you'll know it's off cooldown, but if it's a desaturated or white color, that means it's off cooldown, but you're not enraged. If that ever happens, you'll know why. And then the same is true for Thunderous Roar. If it's off cooldown, but you're not enraged, it will appear white. And then as soon as you are enraged, it will be red. And Champion Spear will do the same thing. It will appear white if you're not enraged, and as soon as you are, it saturates and becomes this color. It would also be in the same location as these dragon heads for Thunderous Roar if you're not talented into Thunderous Roar, right? Because you can technically talent into both, although I don't know that you ever would, but because you can technically talent into both, I have it set up so that if Thunderous Roar is active, these move out further so you can still see them visually without any awkward overlap. But if you're talented in one or the other, this is where they will sit. Then you have Odin's Fury. Again, similar setup as with Bladestorm and Thunderous Roar. If it needs to be used while enraged, it will be white if you're not enraged. I know there is a talent where I think it's okay to use it when you're not enraged because it will enrage you, and if that's true, then it just appears that color, this goldish brown color. Otherwise, anytime you see any of these Weakauras that are desaturated or white, it does mean they're off cooldown, it just means you're not enraged. And then Onslaught, and these red axes, if it needs some more visual clarity, I can add another little thing behind it to try to make it stand out a little more. It looks like it would really just depend on if the background is red or not, as to if you can see it well or not. And what it will do is when when Odin's Fury is not taken, these actually move out, just because I like maximizing the space and not leaving gaps. And so if Odin's Fury and Onslaught are taken, I don't want them overlapped, but if it's one or the other, I do want them to occupy this space just inside of Rampage. And then your Enrage bar, timer, rage, and then if and when you're ever casting as a warrior, I guess when you're mounting or maybe channeling a bandage, you would have a cast bar. So that's what the base stuff for warrior looks like. As for the hero talents, if you're in Mountain Thane, these are your charges of Thunder Blast. And I know when you use Avatar, you get 2, but then your Thunder Clap can have and will have a cooldown. So if you ever have charges available of Thunder Blast, but you can't use them because they're on cooldown, they'll be a white color, right? So if you ever have them on your screen but they're white, that's why. It's just because you have the buff, you just can't use it right this second. And then as soon as it's off cooldown, it'll be blue. So just trying to give you all the information you need right here on your screen. Utilities like interrupts, stuns, and defensives, you still have to maybe use your face and look at them, but possibly over time I can figure out how to nicely and neatly add those into here as well. So literally all you have to do is steer here, which I think would be more fun. My 2 cents. And as is true with everything in my Weakauras, if you're not in combat, nothing shows up until you enter combat, and then as soon as you do, right, you'll see what you have available to you or not. And then like I was saying, with these cooldowns, this is Bladestormer, Ravager, this is Odin's Fury, and this is Thunderous Roar. They're off cooldown, but you're not enraged. And they all have a criteria to say, use when enraged. So that just means you can use it, but technically you want to be enraged first. And then as soon as you are, they will fill with the color, right? Gray, goldish brown, and red. The other thing that would be true, though, is if you are talented into Titanic Rage, meaning Odin's Fury will enrage you, then Odin's Fury doesn't have that desaturated effect. Right, because since it'll say just use it right when it's off cooldown, you don't have to be enraged since it provides enrage. That is when it will not have that desaturated effect and will just be a color, much like how Onslaught already just is that color. So how it goes, I'm going to take these away and just do like the regular Fury spec. I just wanted you to see how things appear on your screen, what it looks like, and then Rampage fits right in there. But how it goes in combat, I think it's fun, just because, again, it's just a lot of button mashing and stuff pops up on your screen. Right, not enraged, and as soon as you're enraged, right, ta-da, stuff glows a nice little color. And there may be a time when we get a white, and that's what I was talking about with Bloodthirst. See, it changes colors, right? The background is white instead of red. The circle and icon are red instead of white. There was a little sound, and then the texture around the outside changes. That means the criteria, the crit percentage for your Bloodthirst has been met, right? That special thing in the guide saying use when it's over 85%. Or if you're talented into Vicious Contempt and your target's under 35%, then the crit criteria changes. So it'll meet both. And so this target will probably be permanently under 35%, so it's always going to match the other one. But on enemies that are over 35%, it will still match the criteria needed for that condition. So there you had your Bloodthirst and your Execute conditions match up, right? So as the sound you heard was for Bloodthirst, and that ka-ching, that sword ringing sound is what it's supposed to be, means that the Execute conditions are met. It wants you to use them. But that'd be pretty much it, right? As you use your cooldowns and stuff, there, see, Bladestorm came off cooldown, and I wasn't enraged, and as soon as I went enraged, brown means Ashen Juggernaut conspiring, and as soon as I went enraged, it filled with the color. There was our white Rampage. We had enough rage to spend, but we weren't over a certain threshold. Woo, that was a lot. That's a lot of Execute conditions, friend. And there we just dropped. There it is. So this means I have enough rage, but that to use Rampage, but I don't have, I think it's over 100, or I am currently still enraged. So you can still use it, right? It's just letting you know that the extra special conditions aren't met yet. That's all. All right. And getting a lot of Execute condition procs again because this target is below 35%, so it's going to pop up a lot. But otherwise, this is exactly what it would look like. There's Recklessness coming back, and off cooldown, and all the things. And it is just a fun button mashing spec that I enjoy. Our special Bloodthirst. There, I think you're seeing what I'm talking about with how stuff changes colors, and you do get a lot of nice button mashing procs and audio cues to go with them. I tried without the audio cues, but I felt like I missed them because in a different Weakura pack, it had audio cues to when those things popped up, and it just felt very dry, right? Or like it was missing something when the audio cues weren't there anymore. Rampage can be used, right? But special conditions not met. And so adding the audio cues just kind of made it more video game for me. If I could figure out how to fine tune the exact volume of them, that'd be great, because sometimes I do feel like that sword ring is a little loud. So if you know how to change those, let me know. I played around with like the different channels, but I don't know that it helped all that much. So then the only other thing to show would be when you are in Mountain Thane. Okay, as for Mountain Thane, more of the same, just with the added Thunderblast charges that will be present when you can do the Thunderblast and will be white when present, but Thunderclap is on cooldown. So same thing, right? Stuff is desaturated or white when you are not enraged. As soon as you are enraged, they change their nice pretty colors, right? And then as soon as we get Thunderblast charges, there they are. And then when you use them, right, this means you still have a charge, but it's on cooldown. And then when it's off cooldown, you can use it again. There's our whirlwind charges. I can say words, right? There we go. That's it. Seems pretty fun to me. If there's anything I left out, right, Thunderblast again. If there's anything I left out, let me know. Like if you feel like there definitely needs to be something more that I didn't include, I'd be happy to include it. Any other feedback you have in general, happy to listen to and try to make the modifications so that it's more fun for you. But otherwise, I hope you like it and have fun. Again, I hope you found that helpful. I do intend to make a Weakura pack for every spec. So if I haven't made one for the spec that you play or that you'd like to see, just comment that down below. Again, I do intend to make one for every spec, but if I see people asking for it or really wanting one, I'll probably get to it quicker than if I just do it on my slow, leisurely pace. I hope it will enhance your gameplay. Like I said, it's all about gamifying the game and making it more fun and more immersive for you, while also helping you improve as a player, because the information that you need to react to is hopefully more readily available. If you have any other questions about this Weakura pack that you just watched or any other ones, again, please feel free to comment. I try to be as interactive as possible in my YouTube section. And that's it. I hope you have a great day.